Hey buddies, welcome into the grade 12 probability series. In this video, we're going to be discussing the first part of our series, which is the counting principle. Now here I'm going to be sharing some tricks and tips and methods that you can use to basically approach these type of questions. So if you're new to the channel, I'd welcome you. The ones that are returning here, thank you so much for coming back, and please don't forget to subscribe and share this with your friends. That way everyone can win. So without wasting any further time, let's go ahead and look at the first question. So the first question here, it reads as follows. It says a new series of a vehicle registration numbers consists of two alphabet letters, excluding their vowels and letter Q, followed by three numeric digits, which is from 0 until digit 9, and followed by two alphabet letters. All right. Now here, the trick about counting principle, right, or the grade 12 probability is you always need to be sure that you understand the options that we have here. So firstly here, what is happening? So here we know that we have a registration number or a vehicle registration number that we want to create here, right? And then now the first two parts of this registration number, I'm just going to do this. The first two parts, it must have alphabet letters. Now these alphabet letters, it must exclude vowels and letter Q. So now we know that there is 26 alphabet letters, right? But then now if we exclude vowels, which is 5 of them, and the letter Q, which is now makes 6 of the alphabet letters to pick from, it then means now within this space here, we are only allowed to use 20 letters, right? We have 20 options. Let me just write as 20, but these are 20 options. Now the second part here, it says now this series, after having this two part, it must then have three numeric digits, right? So which means now it has three space, and those three spaces here is going to be numeric digits. Now which digits are we choosing from? So we're choosing from digit 0 up until digit 9. So if you're choosing from those, it means now the options here that we're going to have to put in numbers within those spaces is going to be 10 options, right? So it's going to be 20 for this one, it's going to be 20 in this space, 20 for that space, but in this one it's going to be 10 for this first space, another 10 here, and another 10 there. So that's basically what is happening. All right, so now let's go ahead and look at the last part. In the last part, it says we must have two alphabet letters. Now notice now here there was no restriction on those alphabet letters. It just said two alphabet letters. So what does that mean? So it means now here, when we talk about the alphabet letters, within those two spaces, we have 26 alphabet letters to put in there as options. So which means now we have options here and options there, right? Now this is for you to have a framework of what is happening in the instructions. So now this is going to help you to understand what to do when we actually answering this first question. So let's go ahead and look into the first question then. Now the first question here, it says how many such numbers are possible if repetition of letters and or digits are allowed. All right, so now if we are repeating a number, how many, right, registration numbers can we come up with? So now in order for us to do this, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to have the spaces that we have here. So if you notice here, we have two spaces for the letters, and then here we have three spaces, 1, 2, 3, and then we have two spaces there, 1, 2. All right, so now let's start off with the first part, right? So with the first two parts, we know that we're working with alphabet letters. So if we're using alphabet letters, how many alphabet letters can we put in here, right? We know that we have 20 alphabet letters that we can use there, right? So this means now in this first space we will have 20, but then now remember, because of we are repeating, the repetition is allowed. It means now the letter that I've used here, I can still use in the second space. So it means now here this is also going to be 20 because I'm repeating that. All right, so now then I'm going to move on into the next part. Into the next three parts, I have numeric digits. The numeric digits also, I'm also doing what? I'm repeating them. So it means now here I have 10 numeric digits to pick from, and then after that, when I'm going to the second space, I can still choose from 10 space, 10 options, and so as into this part here, right? Then now as you can see the pattern for this, now here it means now we will have 26 as well, and then 26 as well, right? Then now our answer basically will be us multiplying all of these numbers here. So I'm going to multiply all of this together. So that's what we're going to get, and then that's basically the numbers that you're gonna get as our answer right here. So let's go ahead and go into the calculator. So on our calculator here, we see that we have 20 multiplied by 20 multiplied by 10 multiplied by 10 multiplied by 10, then multiplied by 26 multiplied by 26, and then that is going to be our answer. So now here I have 369. So it means I have 270 million, 270 million 400,000. So 400,000 waves, and that is going to be our answer. All right, so now we can then now go into the next question. Now the next question is saying again, how many such numbers are possible if the repetition of letters and or digits are not allowed? So now here, what happens now when you don't repeat something? So when you don't repeat something, it means that now when I'm writing here, starting off with the first two parts, here the first part, because I'm still choosing, I have 20 options, right? So 20 options. So now by writing 20 here, it means now I've picked one out of those 20. So once I pick one out of those 20, I'm going to be left with 19. So this means now for this part, I'll have 19 options to pick from, because one of the options, they shouldn't be into this second option. Now, what about the second part? The second part is going to be the same thing. Here, when I'm putting in the first digit, I have 10 options as digits, but then I've used one, so it means now when I have 9, then I'll have 8. Then now the same is true for this one. It is 26, and then it will be 25. Then now, as you guessed it, to get the final answer, I will just multiply everything. So let's go ahead and do that. So it's 20 multiplied by 19 multiplied by 10 multiplied by 9 multiplied by 8 multiplied by 26 multiplied by 25, and that is going to be our answer. So this looks like 177 million and 840 thousands. All right, ways, and that is how we get our answer, right? So I can see this is still easy because this is the first way of counting principle. So let's go ahead and try the second part and see if you're going to be able to do it now. All right, so now the second part here, it says now the digits 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9 are used to construct a 4-digit number, right? So now here, the structure that we have what? We have a 4-digit number. Now, what are the options to pick here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 options to pick from. All right, so now to answer our question, let's go and see what the question is asking. So the question here, it says, how many possibilities are there if the repetition of digits is allowed? So if the repetition of digits is allowed, then this means now here we have 4 spaces, and then we have 6 options to pick from. So it means now here I can use 6 options, but then I can still repeat that option that I've used there, and same here and same here. And then when I multiply this, notice that it gives me 6 to the power 4, and that is going to basically be my answer. Can I write the answer like I did in the calculator? Yes, you can still write that answer. Nothing will change. Okay, so let's look at the second part. Now, the second question, it says repetition of digits is not allowed. So it means 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if I'm not allowed to repeat a digit, then it means again I will have 6 first here. But then now once I used one of the 6, it means I cannot repeat that. So it means now I have 5 options. Once I do that, I'll have 4 options, and once I do that, I'll have 3 options. Now notice with this one, I need to use a calculator to get my answer. So I'll just multiply everything right like that. And then it will be 6 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 3. And then that gives me 360 ways, and that will be my answer, 360 ways. All right, now let's look at C. Now C here, it is a question that is more tricky or more challenging, just to try and see if you're gonna understand what is happening. Now here it says now, how many possibilities are there if repetition of digits is allowed? So repetition is allowed, and the number must be divisible by 2. All right, so now here we are given a restriction. So we are told that, okay, we are still working on our 4-digit number. Yes, we can still repeat the numbers, but then now our answers, right, all the combinations that we get or that we can construct, they must be divisible by 2. So by divisible by 2, it means that you need to divide it by 2, right? And then you shouldn't get a remainder when you do that. So here we know that a number is divisible by 2, or if you didn't, now you know a number, it is divisible by 2, right, if the last digit of that number is even. The last digit must be an even number. So now here, this then means now, because of we have this restriction here, right, what we need to do first is to ask ourselves how many numbers here, right, are even numbers. So if you see here, we have 4, 6, and 8. Now those are the numbers that are what? That are even numbers. So this means now the first thing that we must do is to put in those options there, because there's 3 options that are divisible by what? By 2, right? And then now after that, we then gonna go back into what we had earlier, which is repeating digits. So by repeating digits here, remember we said we had 6 options, and then 6 options again, and then 6 options again. Now this then becomes our combination. So again, this is 6 to the power 3 multiplied by 3 ways, right? Again, you can even cross this in your calculator. It will still give you the same answer as this one here. Okay, so now let's go ahead and look into the second part. And the second part is saying more or less the same thing. Repetition is not allowed, but then now the number must be divisible by 2. So we already tested that one. So it means divisibility will then means now we see that the options here that are divisible by 2, there's 3 options, so which means we'll still pick put in 3 here, so I'm gonna write 3 there, but then now we don't need to repeat our digits. So by not repeating, it means now the first part here we have 6 options to pick from there. Once we use there, and I have 5 options, right? And then we will have 4 options. All right, no, my bad here. Remember, it said here, let me just start off with this one. It said that the repetition of digit, it is not allowed, right? So now remember here we had 6 options. So by first putting one even number here, right, it means now we have already used one of those 6 options, right? So that then means that from here, when we get it back here, we have how many options? We have 5 options to pick from. And then now from there, we have 4 options to pick from. And then after that, we have 3 options to pick from. And then that is basically our answer here. So this then means now here, we're just going to multiply everything together. So 5 times 4 times 3 times 3. And then that will be 180. And then our answer will be 180 ways. All right. So now here, the trick here that they did was they kept divisibility by 2, but then now they just said it is not allowed. Sorry, the repetition is not allowed. So by saying repetition is not allowed, right, we still need to start off with divisible by 2 and then write that option. But remember now, once we get those options, it means we have already used one of the options. But then now it means now we're down with 5 options to not repeating. And that is basically how we do this one. So that's it for this first part, and in the second part we're gonna continue discussing more about the grade 12 probability series, and I want to see you into that one.